Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts on Facebook, Housing TV Africa, on Twitter, Housing TV Africa, Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.
Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Housing TV Africa X Spaces, where we will be discussing topical and current issues in Africa's housing real estate sector. And today, the topic we are going to be discussing is youths and housing, the affordability challenge. It's a very, very interesting topic, and I'm proud that we have seasoned experts and doyen in the industry that will be lending their voices to this topic. Before I'm going to give the mic to our guest speakers to introduce themselves and give their opening submission, I would like us to go on a brief commercial break, and when we return, we will go straight to the issue, and the issue is affordable housing for young Nigerians, Africans, how can young people access money to start their home ownership journey? It's a very, very critical issue, and it's something that we should begin to talk about. We should begin to have conversation on those topical areas. And I promise you guys it's going to be super exciting. It's going to be promising. The issues are glaring. But by the time we come back from our commercial break, we are going to continue and introduce our guests. Just hold on. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Keep a date with Housing Development Program every week on AIT. Housing Development is the first and pioneer housing program in Nigeria and by extension, Africa. It remains the authentic voice of the Nigerian housing and construction industry. Housing Development is the only credible and specialized platform for seasoned professionals in the build industry, where quality and credible players in the real estate sector meet to interact, showcase, and analyze government policies. It is no doubt that hundreds of thousands of prospective Nigerians who desire to own their personal properties have done so through the assistance of Housing Development Program in the last 10 years. If you are a stakeholder in the build industry, here is where you must be. We are authentic, credible, and supported by all the leading professionals in the build industry. Housing Development on AIT.
While we wait for our second speaker to come on, I would like to introduce the topic. According to United Nations Habitat, it estimates that to achieve adequate housing for all by the year 2030, the world would need to build roughly 96,000 new affordable housing units every day. Nigeria is a country that has about 20 million housing deficit. Yeah, we have about 20 million housing deficit. And experts have projected that these figures will rise by the year 2050. It will double to about 40 million by the year 2050 if our government, our policies and actions and programs as a nation is not tailored towards providing affordable housing for young people, affordable housing for low-income earners, affordable housing for people who don't have the bulk money to immediately purchase a 50 million house in Abuja, 10 million house in Port Harcourt, or 50 million house in Kaduna. These are the issues, and I'm very, very elated to be here. So good evening, everyone. Let me introduce myself properly. I'm Adamu Deko, and me is my co-host.
Adebayo Toby.
Oh, thank you very much, Toby. Housing TV Africa, we are hearing on Star Times, channel 149. You can follow us on Star Times. And it's Africa's first housing news television network. We also offer breaking news and in-depth coverage of housing, real estate, mortgages, construction, etc. Right? So now we're still waiting for our second guest to come in. We're still waiting. We are very, very hopeful, but we are going to start now while we wait for him to come on board. So let me introduce our first speaker, our guest speaker, someone we know very much, a businesswoman, an astute right activist. Let's welcome Aisha Yesufu. Aisha Yesufu's influence has been greatly recognized globally across multiple platforms. In 2020, she was honored as one of BBC's 100 Women, highlighting her significant role in activism and social change. That same year, New African magazine included her in their list of top 100 most influential Africans. Then fast forward to 2023, Reputation Poll International RPI named her as one of the 14 Nigerians among the 100 most reputable Africans. She was also featured among the 50 most impactful voices in celebration of the 2023 International Women's Day. Additionally, Yesufu has been awarded the prestigious Martin Luther King Award for her unwavering commitment to social justice. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Madam Aisha Yesufu for her opening remarks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're talking about youth and housing, the affordability challenge. It's really something that should worry every one of us. We live in a country where daily people are losing their purchasing power. And of course, when you're talking about housing, this is big purchase in most people's lifetime. It's one huge investment that people make. And here we are, we don't even have systems that allow one to be able to, buy into this little by little. When you're talking about mortgage, it's not as robust as it should be in our country here today. But what is more worrisome is the fact that we've seen how government with impunity can go on and descend on people's investments. We've seen houses being brought down. We've seen situations where, houses, estates will be brought down. Government will say they've revoked the place, and then they will now reallocate it immediately to another person. And you're thinking, in a country where we have such huge housing deficit, why is that being allowed to happen? Even if people had gotten such properties in a way that it's not fully conducive with the system and the process, the fact that we have a problem that we need to fix and we've not been able to mitigate this problem, what we then would expect to happen is that these people are either fined or made to pay certain amount, and then new places are opened up for these other investors that are coming in, for them to go in and go there. We're going to have quite a hopefully we have robust conversation. For me, I'm going to talk about practical inputs. I'm going to give practical inputs because when it comes to housing, I've been in the housing business for like maybe over 15 years now, so, or maybe 17 years. I started in 2007, so the first house I built was in 2007, and it's been one problem after the other, and these problems still keep repeating themselves. From you going to a new area, government will allocate places. They will not develop. They will not put infrastructure there. That makes it more difficult, especially if you're coming in as a first time, developer in that place. You now have to be doing the things that government, the infrastructure that government is supposed to create. You now end up being the one creating those infrastructures, and then they make the things very expensive. We've also seen issues where people who are the ones who are going to build, don't get allocation because they don't have connections. People who have zero, absolutely nothing, no interest of building any houses, are the ones who get allocation of this land because they have connection. They have someone somewhere who knows someone somewhere, and they're able to get these things, and they hold these things land, and it becomes, speculation for them, and they're used as speculative instruments that are kept for them to appreciate over time. And this makes it very difficult or more expensive to be able to get the lands that people need. And the land, in when it comes to property, when it comes to building a house, especially in Nigeria, I don't know other countries, the land is that one big time investment that you have to do, that it's what holds a lot of people back. You're unable to get affordable land, so that means you can't build. But if you're able to get affordable land, it makes it easier for you to be able to build. And these are some of the things that we'll have to discuss today, in terms of what are the policies that we need to have on the ground. Do we need a policy that says if you get a land, you must build it within 6 months? If you're unable to build a land within 6 months, then there's no need for you to go get a land. So in such a way, we reduce this speculatory influence and interest that comes in, that make people hold lands for a long time before they build it. And at the same time, also, there have to be laws that protect the people. The government cannot, or anyone coming into government, just having the power to arbitrarily just do whatever it is that they want to do. You're sitting down, someone comes and say, oh, they're revoking the lands. If the government has not done infrastructure in a place, then the government has no business revoking those lands. I'll just stop here for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Aisha. I could see the passion in your voice, for the sector. And also, very quick one, let me equally introduce our second guest speaker, who will be, speaking to this issue. We have Barrister Festus Adebayo, who is a leading housing advocate, renowned for his tireless effort in promoting affordable housing in Africa. As a lawyer and media entrepreneur, he has founded several initiatives that focus on addressing housing challenges on the continent of Africa. Some of his notable achievements include founding Housing TV Africa, the first specialized television station for the housing industry in Africa, which airs on Star Times Channel 149. Soon we're going to be live on GoTV and DSTV. Is equally the brain behind the establishment of the African International Housing Show, the largest housing exhibition and conference platform in Africa, which brings together stakeholders from across the continent. He is equally the Executive Director of Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, a civil society organization that engages with the government on housing reforms and policies. Through his work, Festus Adebayo has impacted over 20,000 Nigerians, helping them to become homeowners through his assistance programs and mentoring. His dedication to the affordable housing, to the provision of affordable housing for millions of Nigerians and Africa, has earned him numerous awards and recognition, including being declared Housing Personality of the Year in 2020 and 2021. Let's welcome Barrister Festus Adebayo.
Yes, my pleasure to be here. Firstly, I must say a very big good evening to my big sister, Madam Aisha Yesufu. I'm happy today. I've caught you today. After today, you will have to join us. We are not only going to be in the side of the human rights, we are also going to be involved in our housing. For me to hear that you have been in the housing industry for 15 years, and I have not taken you near me, that we should go and be dealing with these people to wake them up on what should be their rights. That is my first point I would like to bring out today. On the subject of discussion, housing, youth, housing is key. I wish our leaders can know the importance of housing. When you give a man a house, he will not resort into criminality. If a man has a house on his head, he will get to his working place and contribute better than the one that slept under the bridge. If you have housing, you can be assured of better health than the one that live in an indecent under the bridge of Mabushi. If you have housing, you'll be thinking of how to get married. And if you get married, you have a child, and somebody is inviting you to come and join Boko Haram, you will not go. You don't want to waste your life. These are the few things I would like to mention that government must know that we can use housing to arrest a lot of problems. We can use it to arrest unemployment. When there is a site, you see a lot of people in that site. You see the bricklayer, you see the carpenter, you see the Okada person, you see the woman selling food. So the effect of housing is so huge. So why is it that we cannot use housing to arrest our youth? Why is it that we cannot have some incentive, that we give them some recognition, some support, that we empower them? When you give a youth, when a youth has a privilege to have a house on a particular street, he will join the resident association and he will be fighting for the development of that association. And we give commitment to the development of that area. So why is government not seeing that? Today, just as Madam has said, what we are seeing is a huge deficit. Of one of my WhatsApp group a few minutes ago, someone was talking about Ogbebo family who is in that particular place, and that the land had been revoked. And somebody said, yes, because they don't have CFO. And I said, I don't understand what you mean. You mean somebody has stayed in a place for 40 years? Why is it that they could not give them good, smooth landing points that made the two of them to discuss, the government and the children of that late Ogbebo? Why the gara-gara? Why the noise? Who need that land? Who interested in it? And that became a very big question. And I remember that a lot of people, they were supporting what I was saying. And I told them, this is the first time you have an aggressive minister. For 40 years, somebody has been there. For 39 years, nobody came to ask the man that, come, your CFO. How many CFO have this minister issued? The last one that was there for the whole of how many years? 6 years he spent there. He issued 3,000 plus number of CFO. So these are the challenges for the youth to own a house in Nigeria. How would they get the land? The asset to the land is so terrible. In fact, the corruption involved is high. Not to talk of where you now say you need your building approval. For at every point of the building approval, you have to say to somebody, how do we provide housing for the youth through that method? How? Even when the houses are built, when it comes to the point of sharing the houses, just as Madam has also said, it has to be on the basis of who you know. How do we survive? How do we provide houses for the youth under that arrangement? And then we are blaming them for leaving Nigeria to go to other countries where they feel they are better used. So what are we saying? Nigerian government, be it state, be it federal, wherever they are, we have their representative watching us at this very important time. They must put housing as a key, as important, as a priority. Let me hand up here. I'll be coming back. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Barrister Festus Adebayo. You could see the passion in their voices from their opening remarks. Fantastic, amazing. And the issue today on Housing TV African Spaces is youth and housing, the affordability challenge. And my first question for you, Barrister Adebayo, is the housing deficit in Nigeria. We have about 20 million housing deficit in Nigeria, and the current administration has promised that they are going to provide affordable housing to thousands of Nigerians before the expiration of their 4-year mandate. And it's so sad that if you look at the commitment of the government and what they are promising us, it doesn't really align. If you want to provide affordable houses for millions of Nigerians, I don't think you'll be budgeting a total of a meager amount of about 90.1 billion for housing. And out of that 90.1 billion that was proposed in 2025 for the Ministry for Housing and Urban Development, 83.7 billion 83.7 billion, representing 92.8%, is for capital project, while 6.4 billion, representing 7.12%, is for recurrent expenditure. That means the government is proposing that they can actually use 83.7 billion to solve the housing challenge in Nigeria in 2025. Barrister, do you feel this is workable? Do you feel we can get to where we want to get to with this allocation?
When the budget was presented, I was the first person to issue the press release to tell the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that the amount dedicated for that budget is a confirmation that housing Nigerians is not on their priority. And I also reminded them that this is contrary to what they said in their manifesto. And I reminded them of what they wrote in their manifesto when they were campaigning to become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or to take over the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I must tell you that in the last 10 years, Nigeria cannot proud of producing 10,000 houses. Let me say 20,000 houses in a year. You know, one of the worst in Nigeria is that there's no data. But from our interaction with private developers and the Federal Ministry of Housing, State Ministry of Housing, State Housing Corporation, we can tell you here, for record purpose, that Nigeria have not succeeded in producing, let me say, in a year, bring everybody together in Nigeria, we have not succeeded in producing 50,000 houses. So if we have not produced 50,000 houses in a year, it connotes that we are growing geometrically. We are producing graduates every year. We are producing youth every year. We are reproducing every day. But we are not preparing for the future of this wonderful gift that we are bringing to this world. So this is the fact I want you to know. I also want you to note that for the period of Buhari government, 8 years in government under my brother and friend, Barrister Batunde Fashola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, in his report, he told us that he told us in his report that he only delivered 6,000 houses for the whole of 8 years. You imagine that? And when I took record of those houses, I discovered that he only succeeded in delivering 2,600 and something. That is the one that he has completed. So the figure he gave to us for 7,000 plus included the figures of the houses that are even in the lintel level. So he confirmed that there's no serious, they are not matching their talk, with action. So, and the essence of this kind of a program is to draw their attention that there's the need for you to we can't keep talking of housing on AIT on different platform, and you are not responding, and you are not making the commensurate allocation to so sign. And we are having a lot of houses that are not being occupied, that even when you go there, the youth cannot afford it. You see a man living in Asokoro, and he has another one in Maitama. Then you ask, why is the Maitama house not being occupied? So this is an issue. These are issues. The houses that are being produced are not the one that the youth can afford. The youth cannot afford those houses. In Nigeria today, we're having houses of 1 bedroom for 20-something million. Where do you want them to get it? Those who are not Yahoo among them. How do you want them to get it? Who is providing studio houses for these young people? Because with the studio rooms, some of them don't need much. Get a place to put a gas for them, get a good socket for them, give them a beautiful room, give them a toilet, give them a kitchen. They are okay for it with their laptop. They do a lot of transactions. Some of them will turn that place, if you give it to them, they will turn it to be their office, because a good number of them are not even working remotely. So, and this is why government must do something to empower. In fact, the government put. I read the quantity surveying, I cannot get a job. I read building, I cannot get a job. But I can report on this program here that a good number of these graduates from building architecture, they cannot get job. It is in Nigeria, you see people working for 25 years and they cannot afford 10 million. And then you want them not to steal. You cannot fight corruption without doing something about housing for the workers. Let me stop there.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Madam Aisha, while you were away, we are discussing about the allocation for housing for the year 2025, the proposed budget. We discovered that the allocation for housing was just a meager 90.1 billion. And out of that amount of money, we have about 83.7 billion for capital spending for the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. For a nation that is serious about reducing the housing deficits, within its shores, do you think this allocation matches with the proposed plans of government to house thousands of Nigerians?
Okay. Ademo, can you please repeat that question again? And also, let me just have a bit of clarification. When you said 80-something billion, is it capital recurrent?
No, I'm saying the total allocation for the Ministry for Housing and Urban Development for 2025 proposed budget is 90.1 billion. That's the total.
Okay.
Then the capital spending, the one set aside for project, that's capital, is 83.7 billion.
Okay.
While the recurrent is 6.4 billion.
Okay.
So for a country that wants to, reduce its housing deficit, do you think we are serious about this, about providing houses for Nigerians, especially low income earners?
Okay, so the first thing that I would say is that when you say for a country that wants to reduce its housing deficit, so is Nigeria included among such countries? There's a difference between the people wanting something and also the government wanting something, and that's where the policies that are set towards what they want to achieve. So that's what do we have a policy well laid that says, okay, we first of all recognize the fact that we have a housing problem and that we want to reduce the housing deficit that we have. So that's one. We need to start from there, and then we start with the end goal in mind, and where is it that we are working towards? What are the things that we want to go there? Of course, this particular amount that we have, it's not enough. And I heard that my brother, when he was speaking and talking about Fashola, who said it's only about 3,000 something houses that were completed, and he did mention 8,000, if I heard correctly, in the 8 years that he was in office. So this comes to say, and if we're to look from that time till now, and we look at the number of houses that have been destroyed by government, be it federal, be it states, wouldn't there even be more than that? So you see, we're already on a place where we are destroying more house. The government is destroying more houses than it is about building houses. And like earlier on, you talked about the issue of budget. C of O, and saying that because someone doesn't have a C of O, you're coming and then you're destroying that person's house. What's a C of O? It's a piece of paper that says ownership. If they don't have a C of O, give them room to be able to do that. There was one of the things that Kaduna State government did some years ago where they made it very easy for people to get a C of O. Right now, sometimes you're asking people to bring huge amount of money. There are places in Abuja where you'll be told to bring 30 million, 40 million, 20-something million, 10 million, 15 million, depending, for C of O. How many people are able to raise that amount of money to be able to, get such C of O? So that becomes a problem. But situation where you have people are able to, the government makes it very affordable for people to come and regularize your papers. That sort of like would make it easier for people to be able to get this amount. And when they do, And this is where the catch is, where government sometimes doesn't get it. This is where the catch is. If they are able to get those CFOs, guess what? People will be paying ground rates. Most times when people don't have CFOs, they can pay ground rate. You get them to pay, okay, pay your ground rate. You can even say, okay, from when you started, pay all the ground rates. Government will be getting income, they'll be earning money. But coming directly back to your question, no, it's not a budget that looks as if it's a government that wants to reduce, the housing deficit. But like what I said earlier, does Nigeria really want to do that? Is that something that Nigeria is working towards, or is that something that the people are yearning towards? And at the end of the day, whatever discussions we have here, it still comes down to politics. If you're not fixing the politics, you won't fix the problem. If people who are going into office, when they come, they are telling you they want to get into office, you don't ask them the question, what are you doing about my housing problem? What are you going to do? These are questions that need to be asked. You don't let people get into office and then we begin to say, oh, you now want to give them agenda. The time to give them agenda is when they come to you asking you to vote for them. The first thing, we have housing problem. How are you going to solve my housing problem? Let me see. If you're not solving my housing problem, why should I vote for you? I should look for somebody else who is going to solve that housing problem. But like I was saying now, those who are in places of authority right now in Nigeria, they don't care about whether people don't have houses or not. They have houses, their children have houses, their students, colleagues have houses, and that's all that matters to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Aisha. Just before we continue, please you can follow us across our social media handle, African Housing TV. We are one of the first dedicated TV channel that is exclusively for housing in Africa. So follow us. If you are not following us on X, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and for you to be able to get more information on housing in Africa. So, to Barrister Festus Adebayo, how is HDAN advocating for policies that can accelerate affordable housing delivery, especially for young Nigerians who are working class, who are traveling from cities to get accommodation, or even for students who the universities cannot even accommodate? They have to go to off-case and all of that. So how is HDAN promoting policies and programs that would take their plight to the government? Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I
Yes,
can hear you.
yes, we can hear you. So, good afternoon.
Okay.
I,
I
are you
guess
ready for? Are you ready?
is
Because I have another meeting. So,
okay. You can come in with your
yeah. Thank you,
submission,
sir.
please.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone. So, I'm an elected official in the United States of America. Also, I've been working on all kind of policies and plans for housing. This is such an important issue, but it has to be talked about. Just the big what Madam Aisha said is so true. When our elected officials in Nigeria have different alternatives and are paid, and unfortunately corruption is just prevalent throughout all phases of getting housing. You have the youth who can't get jobs no matter how educated they are. Then you have the issue of affordability. Who can afford these $1 million homes? Somebody coming straight out of university, getting a first job, cannot afford these homes. The politicians don't care. So we have to really start at the ground roots, just making sure that all our policies, our procedures, corruption, and it's going to take time, just because unfortunately there's so much like systematic corruption in every Nigerian policy, and it starts with the politicians, and just making sure that housing and affordability is at the forefront of every issue regarding the housing acts that are currently in place in Nigeria, and also holding our politicians accountable. If you don't have proper housing in any society, your society will not flourish and it will not grow, and people will be feel disfranchised. So everything that's been talked about starts with the policies and the lawmakers that are in power, making sure that housing affordability is at the top of mind, and making sure that policies and rules are, benefit the society at large. So that's just my submission. I've been working with some housing initiatives in Nigeria, and we're trying to really, because there's so much homelessness, which is a whole nother topic. There's just so much going
You
on.
have you have 30 seconds to round up with your submission so that we can go back to our
No
speaker.
problem. Thank you so much. I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay. Let me go to before Barrister Festus comes back, and before we officially open the mic for to the people from the audience section. I would like to ask just a very, very important question. Madam Aisha, do you think private sector involvement can significantly bridge the housing gap? And what role should businesses play in this regard?
So private sector has been the one that has been housing Nigerians. I mean, please, somebody should prove me wrong. Let me know. In the case of housing in Nigeria, it's really been taken on by private sector. How many houses has government built in the last 2 decades, compared to how many houses that private sector, have been into? And the thing is that also is that, like I mentioned earlier, private sectors are always being frustrated when you want to actually do these things. You find out that for you to get a land, you're unable to get a land except you know someone somewhere, except you're ready to bribe, except you're ready to do a lot of unwholesome things and unethical things. And when you refuse to do these things, you don't get them. So you're forced to buy second hand, third hand from people, and then they would have put in a lot of, prices on top of it. But it is the private sector that has been going on. But one thing also that we also have to be very mindful about, which is, I recognize this so much because I've been in that business. I think I'm going to my either 18th year. This year is going to be my 18th year. I just did the calculation, 2007 to date. Is that we have a lot of also money laundering being done through the real estate. And that's where the speaker who made the submission and talked about the fact that there are a lot of houses that are being built. Nobody is living in those houses. Nobody is living in those houses. And that you have them, they just leave them there. Because for them, what normally happens is that it's a way to clean money. So they loot money and then they just go build houses. They just leave them there. The houses are there. They are not business people who are ready to rent out houses, and that's why you see estate. Recently, I think it made the news where they talked about an estate that has about 850 something duplexes that are there, which are just empty, which had been taken over by EFCC, I believe. So it's the private sector that has always, breached that housing deficit. But unfortunately, the private sector also hasn't been given the enabling environment that it needs to be able to work very well, the enabling environment that it needs to thrive and actually do the needful. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I think 3, 4 years, I did apply in Abuja. They were going to do this mass building estates, and I applied for estate land. I was told to bring 16 million naira as bribe. And I'm like, I don't do bribe. I'm a Muslim. And as a Muslim, if you bribe beyond what even the law says, if you bribe both the person who gives and the person who takes, they're all committing a sin. And I don't partake in anything like that. And so I had to let it go. At the end of the day, these are the things that you find. So when you're doing this thing, for those who would have bribed, even if they get it, and then all the people that are coming at the second hand to go and buy this land, the lands then become more expensive. And so when you're building, either you're selling or you're renting, it also adds to it and it becomes more expensive. And as you go along the road, it becomes unaffordable. When you're building, in terms of building, one of the peculiarities about building is that whether you build a big house or you build a small house, the labor is the same. So if you want to build smaller houses, you're still going to pay the same labor. So it doesn't make sense to you. So most times that's why you see a lot of builders don't focus on building smaller houses. They focus on building the bigger houses, the duplexes, because at the end of the day, you're going to make more money there. You're going to have people who are going to buy the duplexes faster and quicker than you have people who are going to buy the smaller ones. And then the profit margin is very small. So in terms of you building those smaller houses that we want that will be affordable for the youth, then there has to be something that comes from government in the sense of whether they're giving you free land, whether they're giving you allocation where you're not having to spend money. So the cost of the land is taken off, and then you can actually build these houses that are affordable, and then people will be able to take to be able to buy those houses, especially when you're talking about the youth or young adults or people who are just starting off life. They'll be able to get something. If we don't have that, it's going to be difficult. Remember, as people in the private sector, the first thing is money. You have to first of all protect your money. You have to make sure that your money grows, and if you don't do these things, then you're going to wake up one day you're bankrupt. While I'm speaking, let me just quickly add, as I round off, to say to every one of us, in the last 3 years, or let me say 2 years, the housing industry has been traumatized. And I think I did some tweets. I was in last year or thereabout, 2022. I think I started that conversation. I said, look, if you are a builder and you have collected people's money to build houses for them, go back and renegotiate with them, because the dynamics have changed. You find out that things are costing so much more. Some things have gone like tripled, doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Something you're buying 10 naira before, you're not buying 40 naira for it. And if you've given somebody housing and you've told the person that, oh, you're going to pay so and so million naira. For example, let's say somebody is buying a house, you say 150 million naira was what you're going to use to build the house. As you go on, if you did that in 2022 or 2021, and that house, you've not finished building it in 2024, you can't build that house again with that amount of money. You're going to need about 300 to 350 million naira to build the houses. I can give examples. There are houses that are built within those periods where you finish the whole house. Now that same amount is not taking you more than lintel level. And so some people will now come and say, oh, these people have eaten our money. No, they didn't eat your money. It's the inflation that took everything away. I even registered a company. So because for me, like I told you guys earlier on, I give practical example. This is something that I've been doing. I registered a company called House Susu. What I had wanted to do was to be able to build houses where people can buy and pay little by little and own their houses. By the time I did the calculation, I'm like, okay, it will take so and so years for people to be able to pay off, and we build this houses. So we continue to build it. Like every year, some group of people, we put in a circle. This person will carry this house, that person will get it. No sort of something like that. But when you did the calculation, I realized if the cost is not pegged in dollar, if you put it in naira, inflation is going to destroy everything. I had to leave off that idea, because before somebody said, oh, you've eaten, Aisha Yesufu has eaten our money. She opened a company and she ate our money. So that was how I was like, if it's not going to be pegged in dollars, I can't do it, because at the end of the day, inflation, I see where we are today. For those who do it, I don't know how they do it. It's really quite extreme. But just to round off, to say, the private sector is the one that is sustaining the housing in Nigeria, and the government hasn't given them as much as they should. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam Aisha, for that impactful submission. When we talk about affordable housing, just a quick one, outside Nigeria, because we cover across the African continent, there is an affordable housing program in Kenya where they are building mass housing for their citizens. They have a site at Mekuru region where investors come in, government provide land, do the necessary infrastructure and cap the mortgage that the citizens would pay, to be able to access these buildings. And in Ghana, they equally have what we call My Home, My Peace mass housing program that was, started by Nana Akufo-Addo, the immediate past president of Ghana. And we are hopeful that the new president, John Dramani Mahama, will continue in that direction. these are some areas, some African countries who are doing exceedingly very well in providing affordable housing for their citizenry. And we did a publication on that on our website. You can go check there, and you will see more on this. Let's get back to Barrister Festus Adebayo, since he's back. My question for you, sir, is how is HDAN advocating for policies that can actually accelerate affordable housing delivery, especially for young people in the time of inflation? We have inflation. Inflation is it's just as Madam Aisha has said, it's affecting the provision of affordable housing, no doubt, rise in building materials. In the midst of all of this chaos, how is HDAN advocating for policies and programs that can enable young people to get accommodation?
Thank you so much, Suleiman. Just as Madam Aisha has said, and you have also buttressed, you cannot separate housing from the economy. Once the economy is wrong, or once the economy has problem, there's nothing you can do around it. If you understand housing, you can use it to turn it around. But if you don't understand, it will be difficult. Today in Nigeria, the economy is bad. On that note, the CBN is giving out interest rate of 27.5. That is the MCR as of today. And then when the MCR is 27.5, how much do you want to get a loan from the commercial bank? How much do you want to get a loan from the mortgage bank to say you want to buy a house? That is a problem. So unless the economy improves, we may not get some of the things we need. And having said that, Housing Development Advocacy Network, in the last many years, I've created many platforms to create awareness on the need for Nigerians to demand for housing. Nigerians have the right to housing. This is backed by the United Nations proclamation. We will discover that a lot of Nigerians are not conscious of that. Even the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, even though it's under the principle, also give room for housing to be provided for Nigerians. I must therefore say, because of this problem, that of the inflation, the exchange rate problem, the provision of affordable housing have been difficult. So in HDAN, we have been clamoring for the need for us to get utilization of local building materials. That is to say, we must reduce over dependency on imported materials. Most of the products we are using for building houses are all imported. Therefore, we must ask question, what is Nigeria Building and Research Institute doing? Their responsibility to give us some ideas of how we can get alternatives to cement, some ideas or some other thing that can help us to provide housing at the affordable rate. So these building material prices is a big problem. In HDAN, we have been clamoring, we have been going to NIBRI, partnering all of them to see how we can reorientate the attitude of Nigeria to see how we can reduce our dependency. And beyond that, just as Madam Aisha has said, that private sector have done a lot, and that therefore the private sector deserves a good enabling environment. So on that note, we have, as of 3 days ago, I was at the National Assembly. We have set up a lobbying group in HDAN, and our focus is to see how we can work on some of the obsolete laws. The Federal Housing Authority, the law that set it up, is obsolete, it's moribund. There are many things that the MD, the management of FHA cannot do again, unless the National Assembly look into that law and help them to amend it so that they can do a lot of things to improve housing delivery. The same thing applies to Federal Mortgage Bank. The law that's established the National Housing Fund is also obsolete. For us in HDAN, we have set up a lobby group that contains different categories of professionals, including politicians, including members of the National Assembly, to see how we can work together, to see how these laws are changed. And apart from that, I must tell you here that because of the increase in the prices of building materials and everything, majority of the people that are supposed to buy houses have decided to go to the rental market. So I can announce to you here that the rental market is even in trouble. The prices everywhere is high. People that are supposed to be living in Akpori settlement are now back in Karu. People in Karu are now going to Woman village. This is a situation that government need to address immediately. And therefore, in HDAN, we have decided to start a campaign where we call it, we're going to begin a campaign on housing first. Housing first for the youths. Housing first for the youths. I must explain to you that if the youth themselves begin to clamor for housing, if they begin to see that their colleagues in Canada, even at the point of leaving the university, they have a job waiting for them. And when they have a job, they have the capacity to get a house that they can be paying mortgage for. And that is the area the youth themselves must support us. So we are trying to create a platform where the youth, we can be enlightening the youths. We can be giving them newsletter on a monthly basis to win their mind for housing. I remember Madam Aisha said we should be telling them what are they going to do in the area of housing before they are elected. I remember we did a lot in that area in HDAM. And in fact, the last election in Ondo, we did the same thing. And I also remember we did the same thing in Kogi. And I also remember my friends in Labour Party in Abuja. We heard some 2, 3 of them, including Distinguished Senator Ireti, join me in promoting the idea of asking these people. And this, my friend, SDP presidential aspirant, Adebayo, in demanding from politicians that what are they going to do if they are elected. And then we're using the slogan, vote for housing, vote for housing, vote for housing. I want to use this opportunity to call the youths to let us be on the same page. Join our platform, join the campaign, Housing First for the Youth. The present president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria promised Nigerian of credit organization. He also said he promised the student loan board. The student loan board have been established, but we have reminded them of the need to establish the credit organization. And they have also said that we establish. If they can do that for us, maybe that could be of usefulness. But I don't know how it can be useful to solve every problem of housing in Nigeria. But we have provided a solution in HDAM. We have said if government can remove all the protocol that is involved in access land, and the government can create a site and services place for Nigerians, even the youth we are talking about, if they get a land, you measure it for them, you give them some allocation for it. From the little money they are getting, they can go there today, lay 5 blocks, and then when they get more money, they can do more. This is another way that HDAN is considering, that we are going to tell the government, create a pool of land somewhere, call it a site and services land, where people does not have bulk money. You tell them that you are selling a house of 20 million and that they should pay 10% of the 20 million. They don't have the money the ordinary 2 million, they don't have. And I remember there's a housing estate we collaborated with Samodia in Masaka, and someone wanted to buy a house there, 3.5 million. And then we told the person that they should pay just 10% of 3.5 million. The person still could not pay. And that is why we are advocating in HDAN that one of the other things we can do is to ask the government to create a site and services site. We have more we are doing, but the issue of advocacy is very key for us. Reorientating people, creating a platform to educate the youth, let them know what they can do, let them know how they can hold a house, teach them about mortgage. A good number of youth don't even know what is mortgage. They don't know what is mortgage. They don't understand what is mortgage. Some don't even have understanding of, there's no aspiration to even own a house. They prefer to buy cars. So this is the area that HDAN is getting involved. In 2025, to arrest the mind of the youth, reorientate them on how they should put housing first, so that early in their life, they will be a landlord. I rest my case here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Housing and You said we should put. How did you put the slogan, sir?
Housing,
Youth
housing,
housing.
housing first for the youth. Housing first for the youth.
Okay, Mr. Adebayo is saying housing
First for the
first for the
youth.
youth. I must thank my guest speakers for their time for breathing life to the issues. You're still listening to Housing TV African Spaces. We're going to be doing this every Saturday 4 to 6 p.m. every Saturday. You can follow us across our social media platform, Housing TV Africa. You can equally go to our website for news, current affairs news, housing news, construction, and all of that. We are number one in Africa. So you can check our website at housingtvafrica.com for more. And let me be a little bit open and the question is directed to my both speakers. What innovative financing solutions would you recommend to make home ownership a reality for the younger population, aside educating them on mortgage systems? Recently the government is planning to build, I think, about 10,000 housing units for medical people. Why are there no plans for young people? These are some of the issues. And the accommodation that young people actually need is not a duplex. It's just a studio apartment where they can actually stay, think about their lives, way forward and all of that. And if you look at the demography of Nigerian population, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, young people are more than 50% of the population. So why is this segment of the demography of our nation, why are we excluded from the housing industry? Why are we excluded? Why are the young people, the younger population, excluded from the housing sector? Why? That's the question that has really, really been bothering my mind. And I feel it's something that we should talk about. When they are discussing housing, when they are discussing things that affect the greater population of young people make more than half population of Nigeria. So why are younger people not in the equation? Madam Aisha, can you respond, please?
Okay. Thank you very much. The reason why young people are not in the equation is because young people are not fully playing politics. It's as simple as that. If you're not at the table where decisions are being made, if you don't put yourself there, then you become the meal. Within that table, something must happen. You're either sitting at the chair at the table or you're the meal that is being eaten. So until we have a place where the young people are showing their power and letting everyone know that they have the numbers and they are the deciders and they're the ones that are going to stay longer in Nigeria. They're the ones that are going to be affected by the policies that are being made today more. They're the ones who, whatever money is going to be borrowed, they're going to be paying this money more than any other person. So when they know that, then they will now have to do what? Have to now begin to look for people who are going to work for their interest. Politics, election time is not time where people say, oh, I'm not going to participate in election. I'm not going to do this. If you don't participate in election, then there's nothing. Because it is through election, it is through politics that you're able to get people who govern. And so in that process, you weed off the people who are not telling you what they're going to do for the youth. Anybody that is going to come, see them that what do you have for us, the youth, in terms of housing, in terms of these transportation, in terms of welfare, in terms of job creation, in terms of security, what do you have for us? When they sit down and they tell you, and you make that choice, it's not based on sentiments, not based on ethnicity, not based on religion, not based on, oh, I like you, I don't like you, I beef you, I don't beef you. No, based on who is going to do the most work for us. And then you vote those people in based on that. If they go in there and they don't deliver on the promises that they made, the next time they come, you don't vote them in. Guess what it will do? It will now send a message to other people who want to run for office that, hey, if you don't do what you promised to do, what the youth want, they will take you out. So to answer your question, how would the youth become part of the equation is for the youth to actually be the drivers of politics. Now we have a very old generation that it's one gender driving and they don't care and they're doing, and you could see they're doing things for themselves and they're having a blast and they're enjoying themselves. So you look at I was in Toronto in December, And I went to visit my adopted daughter who had gone to Canada for her master's and was working. And she said no. So I went to see her because since when she went to school over there, I hadn't visited. So I went there and I stayed in her apartment. And for me, leaving that place, it was just like, oh, okay, business. Business idea. We talk about this studio, just one simple space like that where you divide everything. The kitchen is here, the bedroom is just one part, door, this thing, partition that was done, and every time like this will work for young people who are just starting life. They don't need too much of big spaces, and you can be able to make it affordable. So that for me, that's one of the things that I have been thinking about. In terms of where you talked about innovative finances. I don't have the idea. Maybe Mr. Festus to be able to help us there. But all I could think about was what I had wanted to do, which I called house susu. It's not just like the word esusu. When people do collection, you donate certain amount of money every month. You collect. They will not put it together. You collect it. I had wanted to put something together where you will have a group of people together where they're donating certain amount of money, then either at the end of the year or at the end of maybe 6 months or something, then you're taking a house so that you'll not be able to have a house then while the other one is being done, building the other person's house. So you're able to, like, for example, afford it and be able to get those houses around. Mortgage is always the easiest one because you're talking about the loan is the interest is very small, and then people pay it over time for a very long time. But then mortgage also has its issues because at the end of the day, you don't truly own the house until you finish paying your mortgage. And where you default or something, you can easily, become homeless if someone is not very dedicated in terms of paying the fee that they're supposed to, their mortgage every month. But top of my head, I'm still thinking maybe I'll still come back to that question in terms of innovative way for people to do. But before I just hand over, is also to talk about the fact that people learning about finances is very important. People learning financial literacy is very important. They say business makes you rich, real estate makes you wealthy. If people are educated on how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money, that also would also help them towards owning houses. There are a lot of youth who are making money, more money than even the older generation. You have the world that we have right now has opened up a lot. It has opened up a lot in terms of the capacity for people to earn money, whether content creators, whether people who are doing, online businesses, people who are into tech. They're earning so much money, but a lot of them don't understand what money is. They don't have the knowledge of money. They are not financially literate. You understand? So financial literacy is something that really has to be done. In that way, you're telling people to look, save a portion of what you're earning, put it together and invest it in passive income yielding investment, or investment that we appreciate over time. And so one of those investment is in land. If you're able to buy your land, and like I think it was Mr. Festus that talked about it, to build a house is not difficult. The most difficult one is getting a land. Little by little you can start. Every month you put something down. You're not changing your phone
Yeah,
anyhow. Life is
yeah,
not a competition. You are
yeah.
sitting down, oh, iPhone 16 is out, iPhone 17. Why are you buying iPhone 16, iPhone 17 when you have a phone? Why are you changing your car when you already have a car
Abi?
you're driving?
Yes,
Why are
yeah.
you buying another shirt when you have shirts in your house? Why are you buying
Abi?
another handbag? Why are you
Eh,
buying hair? Sister, born straight hair,
Abi?
you're buying millions. Millions that you can use to go and buy land and start building houses.
Eh,
So these are things also when you educate the youth on, they have the money. Sometimes they don't know they have this money because they don't understand financial literacy. And I think it's Jim Rohn that said, turn your income into capital, turn your capital into enterprise, turn your enterprise into profit, turn your profit into investment, and turn your investment into financial independence. So if you really want to own those houses, these things, begin to save, buy lands, build houses, not just for yourself, also put tenants. The best
and
way is, I mean, like my husband will always say, money where they come for tenant is sweet. It's just like a wolf, they are dashing you because you've already done the work. Building a house and renting it out is one of the biggest way of getting passive income. You've done the work, you've built the houses, they will come whether you're doing anything or not. And financial independence is when your passive income can take care of your expenses. So if you
Right.
build houses and rent them out, you get that money. And just finally, there are some people who argue, oh no, building a house and renting it out is not making money. See, so this is the difference. If you are a business person who real estate is your business, of course, build a house and rent is not the way out. You'll be selling, you'll be getting capital gain. But if you are someone who already has another business you are doing, you're just want somewhere you'll be saving money. Building houses and renting it out is very good because one, you're collecting your rent and also the house is appreciating, you're gaining on it, so that your investment is gaining and you're still getting money, and over time you're able to get money that will take care of your expenses. Whether you work or you don't work, you're good. Thank you.
You're still as aside young people learning about how to get affordable houses here, where they are still tutoring young people on how to be financially, more, so you're going to learn a lot when you come to our spaces. It promises to be super, super exciting, amazing experience we've been having so far. Very, very thought-provoking and very, very educative. Let's not just be like we are just lamenting. And they say when you want to achieve something, you look at past people or you look at certain countries. In the case of Nigeria, let's look at certain countries who have been able to do these things that looks like further mathematics for us in Nigeria. So are there international models of affordable housing that Nigeria can adopt to tackle this issue effectively, Barrister Festus?
Thank you so much. I want to make a little, before I go to that your question, I want to make a little backup to my darling madam, Aisha. She has called on the Nigerian youths to join politics. I want to back her statement up with the statement of Edmund Burke that says, what good people suffers from not participating in politics is to be ruled by fools. Nigerian youth should take their destiny into their hand and begin to create more interest in housing. Having said that, you mentioned a question that had to do with financing innovation that can be brought in. I like to also have to what Madam Aisha have said when she mentioned Isusu. Some of you could not understand what she means. Isusu has helped a lot of people in the past to be a homeowner. That time, we have not been able to know what is computer, what is all these things, some of these things you are saying. And nowadays, people are modernizing it, and it's still working. I want to let you know that following the HDAN advocacy, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria created a window called cooperative housing. That cooperative housing is like what I said the other day, that you form a group. I grew up to know that people joined cooperative for the purpose of getting rice, getting head of the year, buy all sorts of things. And we started to change that idea to using cooperative to own a home. You buy land as a bulk, all of you together, hectares of land, as a cooperative, as a group, as a youth group. And then having bought the land, this time around, you are buying it as a group. So it's difficult for anybody to 419 you. Because if you want to 419 you, you have enough of people will fight them. And then when you buy this, then you allocate the land among yourself. This is one of the initiatives that have helped a lot of people. And I can tell you, Unilag has experimented that, Unilag Cooperative. They have experimented that and it has worked. And I have many other places I can mention to you in Kenya, in South Africa, where these have been experimented to answer the last question you will ask me. And apart from that, Another idea is rental housing. We have always been seeing government saying we are building to sell. The idea of selling should stop. Let us try rental housing, where somebody will have, a young man will live in, as far as he has a job. And Madam Aisha said very beautiful thing, that the youth cannot be underrated. They have money. Some of them have been paid in dollars. But the challenging aspect of it is that a good number of young ladies are carrying 3-bedroom on their head. 3-bedroom on their head. So, and that is why I also love what Madam said, that need for us to have financial education. You can't be carrying 3-bedroom on your head. Price the price, go and get the price of 2-bedroom and try to get what kind of air you are carrying. This is not the way to be a homeowner as a youth. So government should create rental housing. We call right to home. You know, as you are entering, you pay every year. And then you know that by the time you pay for 15 years, that is when they have to hand over the house and the papers to you. And that is one area for that I want the Housing TV to help us flog in 2025. Rental housing, rent to home is one of the easiest ways for people to own a home of their dream. And then finally, international communities, international organizations, and some countries have done well in the area of housing. Canada, Madam has mentioned Canada. My friends have 2 children there. The 2 of them, I think they are living in their personal houses, small houses. Though I'm aware some changes are happening in Canada due to the global economy. Same thing in London. In UK, we have local council houses. That has helped a lot of people. In fact, local council houses have helped a lot of families. Woman who lost her husband, or old woman's house. This is how government have been doing it over there. The last time I visited UK, last year, I saw that some of the story buildings of the council houses, they are changing them, increasing it to 2-story, 3-story, for the purpose of accommodating more and more people. I was in South Africa. I saw what the government there is doing in the area of housing. And I raised an alarm. The government in South Africa, as of today, we engage a developer to build houses for social housing. It is not that you go and build it and say you want to sell for them. No. You get the cost implication, they get everything, go and build social numbers. Because of fear of corruption, they have stages of payment. When you finish the foundation, you will be paid by the government. When you take it up to lintel level, you will be paid by the government. And when the building, the project is completed, the government will finally give it to you. So they have people, a department being engaged. And I ask, what if they collide with the developers there? Let the person try it. Here is not a joking place. That's in your country they can collide, not here. And that is why the fight against corruption should be given a priority. I love when Madam Aisha said, I'm a Muslim. I don't do such thing. Some of us have to take this battle of corruption to the last level. Because one of the reasons why we have not been able to even talk of housing for the youth is corruption. It's corruption. What belongs to everybody is being taken away by few number of people. And I also want to let you know, I was in Cairo for World Bank Forum, and I saw different international practices that have to do with housing, affordable housing. And in fact, in the recent time, the student housing, we have also promoted it in Nigeria. And I can report here that Family Home Fund has done the student housing I think in Akwa Ibom. As I said, the major problem is when they see you coming up with good idea, and the idea is working well, some people will go there and try to say they want to hijack it, or for their interest. Nigeria can be a bigger country. We always have ideas in this country. We just need commitment. We just need a leader. A leader will lead by example, not leader that need publicity, not leader that need to be saying himself here and there, but leader that love his people. The first to wake up and the last to sleep. That is all that we need. The future of this country belongs to our youths. If we don't take care of them today, the trouble is going to be here tomorrow. Here I rest my case. Thank you, Housing TV Africa.
The future of this country belongs to our youth. Very, 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 very thought-provoking quote there, Barrister Festus. Thank you very much. I really want to appreciate our guests for their time. I know we have a lot of listeners from the listener segment who want to ask questions. We're going to get back to you guys now so that we can so that you can actually contribute to the topic. It's an interesting topic. It's something that we should begin to have conversation around, and we have some questions from Tab. He said, very interesting space. My only concern is that for years now we have been discussing about the housing issues in Nigeria, but there hasn't been any significant changes till date. Do we just continue to stay hopeful? Then I'll take another one from Memuna Bagudu. With the high rate of unemployment, how can youths in this country have access to affordable housing?
The good news is that the youth have started a program like this to enlighten themselves on the need for housing. I know there's also another one that Madam Agros mentioned that have to do with enlightening them on how they should be spending their resources. And people like us, we also keep enlightening them in the area of mortgage education. That is the first thing that I think the youth have done. The youth have to do more in that area. When you do more in that area, I know there's unemployment, but not all of you are unemployed. We have some of you that are doing fantastically well. And those ones that are doing fantastically well should put housing first. Housing first for the youth. Somebody told me that housing is an asset, but that your car that you are talking about is a liability. And the amount of money some of you are using to buy cars at time is enough to even start a project or acquire that land. That is very important. And when you buy that land, not the price you want to sell it. I mean, you buy it in January, by the time you go back there in December, it is not that same price. In my office today, somebody has told me that the property he bought in Gusape for 80 million, Gusape in Abuja, is now going for 300 million. So imagine. That is why real estate is always the only way to be worthy. So, another question that has to do with, is this how we are going to keep talking? Yes, we have to keep talking. We have to keep talking until when somebody listens to us. It is better for us to keep talking. We have feared housing for all in 2020. We have feared housing for all in 2000. We are talking of another thing now, housing for all in 2035. Come, we have to keep talking. We have to keep talking. We have to keep talking until when somebody listens to us. And the youth must join in the talking. They must join us. They must join us to keep talking. Talk to the governor. Talk to the local government. Talk to anybody, everybody. Some state governments at the end of four years, when you ask them how many C4 they have issued, they tell you 3,000. Some 500. It is when we keep talking and we keep hammering on the importance of housing that we can get there. Well, I have said it earlier to respond to Bagudu, that with housing, we can arrest unemployment. American economy collapsed. Well, when it collapsed, it was housing and mortgage that brought it back. So the government must firstly believe that housing is key. The interest, somebody say Igbe lowo wa. Igbe in the bush, where people poo-poo. If you are doing affordable housing, the number of people that need your services are too many. So a little drop of that money from them can make you a multi-billionaire. Not to talk of the youth that carry over 60%. So our private developers also should begin to think of housing for the youth. I visited a place in Lagos, Lekki area, and all that the developer was doing, he took me around. He said, this is a studio room. He said, this young boy don't need this is all that they need. And in fact, where they put the gas cooker, they designed the place in such a way that if the guy, in the course of pressing his laptop, slip off, and the gas catch fire, the fire cannot affect him or enter into his room, because it has been designed in such a way that it will just make noise and the thing will go off. So Nigerian estate developers should also pick interest in the youth. They should begin to design something for them. They should identify those who are working among them. And in the course of building for those ones that are working among them, they will create more jobs. And those who are not working can also have the opportunity of being employed. These are my answers for the two questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Festus Adebayo, for that submission. There is something that's really very important that we're not talking about: access to land. We'll come back to the listener section. Meka, Ga, I'm seeing you, Labake, and all that. I will come back to you guys so that you can ask or contribute to the topic. I just want to ask the last question from my end here. We have this issue of land tenure and administration within Nigeria that is actually that is hindering the real estate sector in Nigeria. We have the Land Use Act. Some experts in the housing industry opine that is actually too outdated and cannot actually it's not up to date with current realities, in Nigeria. So what do you, how can we, have a refined land administration that will encourage developers, that will encourage them to, build affordable houses for young people? And how can we amend our land administration that will fast track the issuance of C of O, and all other necessary documents, particularly for young Nigerians? Madam Aisha.
I think that is a question that should be given to Mr. Festus, as he's in a position to answer that than I do as a barrister here. Yeah,
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Festus can take
I like
that.
Madam. Now, the issue of land administration has become a serious problem. Look at where we started this discussion. We mentioned Ogbebo. Madam gave her own analysis about them. Then how will you explain? Somebody was in Abuja, among the first set of people that came to Abuja he was the only indigenous engineer. And then he retired, he just retired from the military when he started working as a contractor, as an engineer. And the only rival he had then was Julius Baja. And the only thing the man got for himself was that land. No government has come to say there's need for you to do your CFO. So, okay, which paper is he using there? RFO? What's this? AMAC paper? Which paper? And this has been the reason why we are calling for the amendment of the Land Use Act. Land users have been abused. The governors have turned themselves to be in peril. Giving you CFO is like doing you a favor. The FCT, the minister operates like a governor. That is why the issue of CFO now became an issue. What made the minister here in FCT to be thinking of this is because, according to him, he said, I checked the record. The one that was there before, for so year, he issued 3,000 something. The one that was there before, so something is wrong somewhere. Those ones are not even conscious of the importance of land title. When I have my house and I have my title, that is when that land become an asset. I can trade with it. We are calling for the amendment of Land Use Act because we discovered that it had been abused. People are building houses without paper. The politicians give it to their girlfriend, their whatever, their relative, their friend. The people that really need it for business are not being given. So when we are calling for land administration reform, we are not only calling it for real estate development, but for all transactions that have to do with land. You want to hold an office, you need land. You need land. So the issue of land reform is key. And I want to use this opportunity to inform you that when the present Minister for Housing came, Architect Dangiwa, we took it up with him. And I can report here that the committee was set up on land reforms under one of our friends, Ugosuku Shimen. And I can report to you that that committee has submitted reports. And I can also use this opportunity to inform the general public that the submission of that committee is what we now want to take to the National Assembly. That's why we don't need to throw away the whole Land Use Act. But this is the area we want you to expunge. This is the area we want you to edit. This is the area we want you to remove. And this is what we want you to put there to ease the business investments in Nigeria. So, and once that is done, the youth will be better for it. Just as I said a few minutes ago, I said, give my driver a land. He has access to the paper. Come on. He will talk to his wife. Either they will be coming on every Saturday or Sunday. When I don't need the husband, they will go and be doing that joint communal labor, where they get a bricklayer, and they are the one that will be helping the bricklayer to mix cement with block. These are things that have happened. What is wrong? These are things that our forefathers have experimented. Oh, funny enough, we have not even discussed the issue of building collapse. When I still go to my village in Ilesha, the house built by my grandfather is still standing. But the one that in Nigeria that the people are building in Abuja in the recent time are collapsing. So these are the issues. Land use act must be amended. It is no more serving the purpose of why that law was enacted. I remember that a good number of governors, former presidents, have used the opportunity of the Land Use Act to take over every land. Because what that law says is that every land belongs to the government. And under the concurrent list, the governors are the one that holds the land. They can revoke your land under the pretext of public interest. So this is not good for us. Now, when we were discussing before, we were talking about some damages that have been done in Abuja and in Nigeria as a whole. Number of houses that were built and number of houses we have demolished. If you look at the figure, you will discover that the number of houses we have demolished is more than the number of houses we have built. That is another reason why this law has to be amended, so that youth can benefit, adults can benefit, investors can benefit. Those who want to invest in Nigeria can know that our land administration system is friendly and is investment friendly.
If I may also just come in.
Yes, madam, you can have your point, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Well,
Okay. Thank you so much for that. For me particularly, I love learning, and I'm also very okay with saying things that I don't know. You could see our barrister has, taught us, and I've learned listening to him. I've never read the Land Use Act. I've heard people talk about
Yes.
it. I even got Ademu to send me the Land Use Act. Unfortunately, I was so busy, I couldn't read it before I came here. But just to talk out of experience, is the fact that so land belongs to the government, and even when they are giving you something, it's lease. You're leasing it for 99 years. Normally when you get a land, you never think about all of those things. But some years ago, I bought a particular land. So the paper, because this land was done in is it 1920 something or 1919 or that kind of a thing. So the papers were very complete. So we did got some of the paper. So I took it to Kajis, that's in Kaduna, where they were doing it. It's a warehouse. It's where my warehouse is. While they were there, and then we kept waiting because it was the owner. We had to file it under his name. He had started the process and everything. Kept waiting, and then it turned out apparently the lease had expired.
Mm.
So the 99 years
That's
had
expired.
expired.
Mm.
Yes, had expired. And so they had to I had to actually pay some money because they now had to reallocate it, redo this, redo that, and everything. And so it cost me a whole lot just doing that. So that's that by the way. And I say to people that anytime you're buying a land, make sure you're checking how many years are remaining, especially when you're buying these big places that used to be owned by what do you call it, all of these big companies in those days, when the colonialists were doing their, how do I put it, when they were buying all of those their things that they export abroad and gather. So they had these big warehouses that they built and stuff like that. Some of them are really going expiring. But having said that, is for me it's to talk about the land. When we are talking about land, if we want people to have affordable land, we need to get to a place, I think I mentioned it earlier, where people are not just giving lands. At the beginning of when I did my introductory speech, I mentioned it. This whole act of giving people land to hold, to the extent that people, it's not being used for speculation, it needs to stop. And I'm saying this for me, I'm saying this as someone who has lands, I who invests in buying lands and stuff like that way before I even started building houses. And I know I'm going to be affected if such a rule is put in place, but we need to put it in place to say, if you get a land, you must build it within the next 6 months. If you cannot build it within the next 6 months, then you need to sell it to people who are going to build it, or government should take it back. What we have now is that a lot of lands are out there allocated to people who have no intention of building houses. And so they keep these lands for the next 10, 20, 30 years, knowing fully whether it's going to, it's going to appreciate. You're finding places in Asokoro, lands are being sold for billions, 1 point something billion, 1.5, 1.7 billion, 3,500 square meters in Asokoro. You're going to be talking about 1.5 billion, just the empty plot. There's nothing, there's no block on it and stuff like that. This is speculation where people have held this thing down. If people are building as the lands are coming, it's not good. The lands are not going to be as expensive, and people will be able to have more access, to have more to be able to build more. And also the government must ensure that for every place that they're going to allocate they allocate land, they should immediately put infrastructure. The reason also why a lot of people are unable to build is because there's no infrastructure in those places. And if you're going to build, you are now the one that has to put infrastructure. And I can tell you, for me personally, there are so many places, both in Kaduna and Abuja here, where I've been the one that have had to put infrastructure to those places, put electricity, take in water, do road. And yet I have to pay tax. I would say government needs to be paying me tax. There's a particular place right now, I just came from there this afternoon, where we are doing houses, and there's this big, huge rock on the road for you to even blast it. So it's making it difficult to get the road down there. We are having to use a particular land to get there. The cost, they are calling 20 to 30 million naira that you need to use to blast the rock that is on road. No be your road, it's not your land, government owned. So these are also the problem that we have, why, in terms of the land. So one, government must open up new places. Government must ensure that there's infrastructure in those new places so that people can easily move there and build houses. And also, secondly, also allocation should be done based on need and want and usage immediately. If you're not building a house within the next 6 months, please don't come looking for land. And nobody should hold land and say, oh, they're going to sell it later. Everybody that gets there, you must build your house within the next 6 months. And I think this will free up more lands, and then we'll not be having all of these very expensive, lands going up and becoming extremely expensive. Because like we've been mentioned earlier, the most expensive part of building is actually the land. The moment people have lands, they will go on to, start building little by little, reduce from the expenses. When you're building a house, even the coke you used to drink, you'll not be drinking it anyhow. Even the eating out, even the suya, you think, I mean, this one will buy me how many blocks? You will now put it in there until you get that project done. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Aisha, for your very, very educative submission. I would like to go to the listeners section. We have two persons. We have Mekaga and Labaka 31. Mekaga, you have the floor for 2 minutes, please.
Okay, it's Mekagalum, not Mekaga. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Festus Adamu, and I think the handle housing. And Madam Aisha, it's really nice to be on the same speaker section with you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
So the little I know about Nigerian housing, in 1979, the federal government did some housing, and it looks like they had a successful those set of housing projects that they did on federal housing estates in some states.
Yeah, but that was during the time of Jakonde in Lagos.
Okay.
Shagari, yeah.
So yes, so bringing in Jakonde now. So that was during Shagari's time. So I'm talking about the federal government housing estate, and of course in Lagos State, so they have Jakonde estates as well. So in the eastern, in Anambra State, old Anambra State, because I'm talking of Enugu now. So they have state housing estates, but fast forward till now. There hasn't been, because it seems like that particular time captured a lot of people, not just the civil servant, but ordinary individuals that probably paid for this mortgage. But looking at 2025, and from what Aisha said, that when politicians are coming for elections, you need to ask them, if you are a young person, so think about your future. Okay, how about housing? It's not really a campaign question, like one of the major campaign questions that you ask politicians. And especially because when Nigerians are in the states. Nigerians are not in Abuja and the big cities. No, majority of Nigerians are living in the 36 states. So how can these states do have some housing? Okay, let me continue. These states have housing ministries or Ministry of Housing, but they are usually designed to cater for civil servants. And I know for sure that most states in Nigeria don't have people within the ages of 25 and 45. Majority of them are not civil servants, but majority of them do pay their tax or are citizens of the state. So how can citizens start? I think, Madam Aisha, I think this question for you, because you brought this part. How can citizens, design their questioning to a politician seeking for executive office as per housing, that they have? This is not a civil servant talking. This is just an ordinary individual probably having wanted. And must the person be a rich person to be able to qualify to even think of owning a house? That's my question.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. Let me just try and take a stab at it, because I'm also thinking, okay, what's the best way? I think one of the ways for me would be, first of all, as individuals, sometimes we tend to forget how powerful our voices are, even just as individuals, just asking the question and talking. And most times when you ask these questions, it sort of resonates amongst people, and you see other people, take them in. Where there are town halls, normally we have these rallies where people are singing, dancing during political campaigning. We need to go beyond that to where we're having town halls, where we are asking the real questions. When we see these politicians who are running for office, it's not about taking a selfie. It's about saying, hey, what are you doing about this housing issues for the youth. What are your plans? What policy are you going to put in place? What are you going to do to ensure that? So that sort of also aids towards it, instead of the smiling and oh my gosh, and the selfies and stuff like that. Then of course, as organizations, you have certain organizations, coming together and laying down, not just asking about those housing, putting down policy and the way that you think things should be done. For example, you started with 1979, how things were done. So you could come together, you could write a paper. This is something also, write articles, write paper, put it out there. When we are talking about advocacy, people always assume that advocacy is just being on the streets with placards. No, there are different forms, and everybody should do it within the ways that they can do, whether through music, through writing, through art, through speaking, whatever part it is that anyone can do. And so, just for example, you putting up a paper, designing a policy paper based on what you've read, based on what we've seen work. Because literally, if you go through the states, especially I think there were 19 states at that time, you will see what they call shagari quarters. Almost everywhere has one place or the other, that they call shagari quarters or government quarters, which were built during this day. And so if that had worked, why is it that nothing is being done now? And also to put out that, look, first of all, government has not been able to provide the employment that takes most of the people that need jobs. So whenever government is doing anything, it shouldn't just focus on the civil servant, but focus on citizens rather than civil servant, because we have a lot of youth that the government hasn't been able to employ. Sometimes it's articulating those things, putting them in writing, and then following it up. And of course also, and I think that's what Barrister Festus had alluded to when he spoke about the fact that they are already lobbying, they are at the National Assembly, they're meeting. So these are also places where we could things that we could do. Who are your lawmakers? Your lawmakers are supposed to be your speakers. They're supposed to be your representatives. They're supposed to be your voices and your eyes there at the national hem. Like you rightly said, not most Nigerians are in the 36 states and the 774 local governments. They're everywhere. They're not just in Abuja or Lagos, but they send in their representatives from all over the place, all over across the country, to come to Abuja and sit down. So these representatives, you need to meet them and let them know this is what we need about from on housing. These are the things that these are the deficiencies. These are the things that should be done, to improve upon them. These are some of the problems that are encountered in these areas, and these are the things that should be done to mitigate them. And so that conversation keeps on going. When you're talking about policy making, the first thing in policy making is agenda setting. So you set the agenda, you begin to talk about it, you come together, you write pieces on them, you have town hall on them, you do videos on them. I mean, there's social media today. Social media, in the words of Chude Gideon, who has democratized media. So you also have an opportunity to put out something and people can come together. And when you talk about groups forming, if people think about physical group, you don't have to be physical. You don't even have to ever see each other physically. You can form your group online. You can be meeting online, and you can form your, that
Thank
agenda
you.
that you want, and then you take
Thank
it
you.
down to them, and then you
Thank
take
you.
it down all over to them. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you, Madam Aisha.
That's
I love the way you ended that discussion. That you can form your group online. You don't need to see each other. Just have the same goal. One of the biggest challenges that we are facing is the political will. I think there was a man called Latif Jakande. He did very well for Lagos people. Till today, the houses built by Jakande that those people were condemning, that these houses we should collapse, are today the savior of majority of the people living in Lagos. Tell me the area you will not find Jakande estate. That is the area where we need the political will. I remember recently I asked a question from the CBN governor. You came here, you are telling us 27.5% is your interest rate. You have not mentioned anything about mortgage. You have never talked anything about intervention about housing. Tell us what you want to do about housing. These are key areas that all of us have to be on the same page and advocate for. I remember Shagari, when Shagari was campaigning, it was very clear that housing was number 1 on his list. And that was what led to the building of all those houses we call Sagari houses. I remember I met the architect that designed those houses. When he told me that we made one mistake, I said, what is the mistake you made? He said, the mistake we made is that we went and built those houses in the outskirts of the city. He said, that was the mistake we made. He said, while we were building the houses and we finished it, before we do the commissioning, the criminals have gone there, they've removed the roof, they removed everything. But the same mistake, Buhari government also did. The little houses we said that Fashola said he did, a good number of them people have removed their roof, removed their everything. Go to Kabi, go to Kano, go to Sokoto. I remember I told the reporter to get me some video clip, which I put on then on AIT. And the minister was looking for me. But why didn't I show him those video? Why did I put it on? I said I expected your controllers, because you are controlling each of the state of the federation. That should have been their responsibility. I don't belong to you, I belong to Nigerians. You were talking about housing. Okoje was talking about the importance of mortgage creation. When Buhari came, nothing. The present government promised us that we have not gotten to where we are going. And that is the reason why this program being hosted by Housing TV Africa, why I will suggest to you that you continue with this. Use this to mobilize Nigerian youth for housing. Housing first for Nigerian youth. If they have a beautiful place they call their home, they will have commitment. They will be involved. In fact, this idea of them joining politics, they will join it. One of the barriers where they are not joining politics is because they don't have a place they call their home. They are not stable. They are not even sure they will be in Nigeria next month. So housing is key. Housing first for them. That is my submission. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barrister Festus. He said housing first for Nigerian youth. Can we have can we have Labake 31, please? You have 1 minute. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Ejia, for having me this morning. My name is Labate, as you all know, and I'm speaking from Canada. I just want to make a quick correction about what one of the speakers said about Canada, about students finishing school and jobs waiting for them. This is not true, because a lot of students finish school and they're still out there looking for jobs. And when it comes to housing, Canada, I've been in Canada for about 25 years. When it comes to housing, Canada has government houses for assisted living, supported living, and this is for low-income earners. But they still pay. It's not free. They work and pay. But Nigerian youths, I've noticed that Nigerian youths, a lot of them don't want to work. They just want quick money. And right now in Canada, because this housing issue is all over the world. Right now in Canada, most youths are moving back home to go live with their parents because they can't afford it. Despite the fact that the youths here, most of them are very, very hardworking. So when it comes to housing, Nigerian youths have to sit up and get something doing, not looking for quick money to make money and be living lavish, expensive lives. If they do this housing issue is going to be reduced among youths in Nigeria. Not everything the government is going to do for them. They have to sit up and get something doing, not looking for quick money, or especially girls dating rich men, politicians, and so on. It doesn't happen like that here. Youths contribute to the economy in Canada, and everybody pay taxes. Not everybody pay taxes in Nigeria. And this money, these taxes that we are paying in Canada, is used to build affordable housing for the less privileged. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission.
Okay. Can I just respond to a little bit?
Okay.
Okay. I think it is not fair to say that Nigerian youth are lazy. They don't want to work. Sister, there's no work for them. I don't live in Canada. I just visited Canada and came back. and I've had my kids. My kids have schooled in the UK. My son went to UK when he was 14 for the simple reason that he's dyslexic. And unfortunately, there were no educational system in Nigeria to take care of his learning disability. So we had to make that painful choice of sending him to England at the age of 14. My daughter joined him when she was 15. Yeah, when she was 15. And she went to do her A-levels, finish her A-levels, and then she did her university degree, and she has finished and she's working. In her own case, and in their own destiny, the fact that while you are still in university, you have jobs. She had job offers even before she finished university, and she had 5 years experience by the time she was leaving university. That's something that if she was back here in Nigeria, it would be very difficult for her to have it, where the jobs are not there. There are a lot of people in the job market that are looking for jobs. Talk less of students. One of the things that I've been looking for her to do, I've been let me say it out here, and I probably someone going to pick it up. How do we get companies and students to be able to work together, have an app or something where they can register, they can go work there, where they are shoring up experiences, so that by the time they are leaving school, they're not just leaving schools as novices. So coming back to that is the fact that in Canada, when people pay taxes, politicians are not eating it up. Sometimes I find it a bit infuriating when I see people who live in environments that work, and then they sit down here and blame citizens. We're having people looting money. One minister just looted 42 billion naira, which he gave to one person who is doing BDC, Bureau de Change, to change it into dollars for him. Can that happen in Canada? You guys will run Canada down. You just forced your minister to prime minister to retire recently. We don't even have the nation for all of us. So when we make this thing, people are not lazy. They don't have jobs. There are no jobs. Companies have closed down. In the last 1 year alone, how many big companies that we have left in Nigeria have closed shops, have left Nigeria? How many of them have left Canada? You come into Nigeria, you don't see these big companies. You don't see people who are employing. There are no enabling environment for businesses. Landmark Beach Resort that was built by someone for over $300 million was brought down because they wanted to do a coastal road to nowhere. And even the road, they are not doing it, that nobody will dare to do it in Canada or in any place where there is rule of law. So when we here in Nigeria are speaking and crying, we know freaking hell why we are speaking and crying. People are going through so much hell. The youth of today, we have taken their lives away from them. Even the things that they're doing, security will go and be killing them and be maiming them, even when they're trying to survive. We have not given them an enabling environment. Their commonwealth has been stolen dry, and yet we come out and we blame them. Sister, maybe if you've not been in Nigeria for a while, come back home. There is nothing. People are suffering. Even 24/7 electricity. There is none for them to be able to put on their computer and be able to work and do certain things. There are no jobs. People are leaving school. They are having to be underpaid. Someone will be teaching and they are paying that person 20,000 naira in 2025. That's what the person is surviving on. Otherwise, you just stay there. So people are going through so much. There are no jobs available for Nigerians. If they have the jobs, Nigerians are not asking government to give them handouts. They're only asking government to give them enabling environment for them to thrive. I remember when Buhari came in, he brought up this agricultural revolution. A lot of Nigerian youth went into agriculture. Guess what happened to them? Most of their farms, they had to abandon the farms because of insecurity. That is not happening in Canada. That is not happening in US. That is not happening in the UK. So those places, sometimes we speak from the places of privilege. In my own house right now, I live in Abuja. I'm connected in Abuja. I'm doing this in Abuja. I have 24/7 electricity. And how am I able to have 24/7 electricity? I have to have a gen. I have to have an inverter. I have to have solar. They all have to work. even at that, sometimes there are few times that the light goes off. Why should I be paying all this amount because I just simply want 24/7 electricity? 24/7 electricity is the basic that should be available for everyone anywhere in Nigeria. Yet only a few privileged are able to have it. My children went to schools that have good quality education, both here in Nigeria and abroad. Why should that be? Why should a child of a poor person who is dyslexic not have the right quality education in Nigeria? If you had left my son in Nigeria, he would never have been able to finish school because they would tell him, oh no, these ones are the ones they call Olodo, they can't do anything. But yet my son went to the UK, yet he was able to get the right system, yet the scribes were assigned to him. Even during exams, he had scribes that would write for him. He just tells them what they want to write. Today he's a graduate, he writes film production, but there his contemporary who was born to parents who are not as privileged as my son's parents were, and the child is there, has been lost in the society. Nigeria owns that child, and Nigeria owes a lot of things.
Thank you very much, Madam Aisha, for that thought-provoking, beautiful, amazing submission. We'll go to our next speaker, Dr. Barrister Avotu Johnson. Please, you can unmute. You just have 1 minute, please, because we're already running out of time. Loud and clear.
Yes, actually, I just came on the space not too long. I listened to everybody. I see Mama Aisha Yesufu, some to chuku, she did para normally. Mama Aisha, I greet you. I greet everyone. I greet the opportunity that you guys always bring up space for us to speak, talk to ourselves, find solutions. But I confirm something that most of the time when we are on space, you see people with good submission, but with the implementation of these submissions are zero. Zero because we have not done the right thing. Honestly speaking, me, I be political scientist by academics, and I keep telling anybody who cares to listen that without political stability, any stability in any other sector of the country, even the stability of your family, you and your wife and your children, is not going to be possible. So, for me, we need to focus on our focus, and our focus must remain the political stability of Nigeria, where the right people are given opportunity to contest election, win, enter into positions, and take right decisions that will help this country. Because if we continue talking and talking and talking from the north, east, southwest of our mouth without making sure that the right thing is done, which remains the stability of our politics, nothing will happen that will make sense. We need to step up and make sure that we do the right thing. The best thing we can do for Nigeria is to politically stabilize our country. Thank you so much. God bless you. Mama, please follow me so that I give you latest information where I find
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you so much, Barrister, for that. We need to stabilize our country for us to enjoy the dividends of democracy. Tommy, you have the floor. Please be brief, 1 minute. We're already
Yes.
behind
Can you hear
schedule.
me, sir?
Loud
Oh,
and
okay.
clear.
Good morning from this side. Good morning, Madam Aisha. I don't know if you remember me, but let me just.
Yes, I do. I do. Our Tomin. That is Madam and the kids.
They're all fine, man. They're all fine, man.
Well done. Thank you.
Good.
God bless
Good
you.
morning, Barrister Festus. I really like a Barrister Festus submission, and I want to ask Barrister Festus. I won't take time. I just want to ask a question. Um, so, for example, with what happened with the coastal road, along that line, there are young people. I know one or two of them who built houses, who started something or probably bought a land. I know one that bought a land. And now, because of the coastal road, the guy have lost his land. So, sir, I want to ask, you said until we do something about that, we do something about the land use and the laws and everything, how do you encourage the average youth now? Because I'm in Canada, I'm a patriot of Nigeria. I love Nigeria with all of my heart, and I want to be able to still invest in Nigeria, get a land, get a house. I don't plan to retire here. So how do you encourage the average youth of today, sir, to purchase a land where there's that fear that somebody that can come and do Coastal Highway one day, and if you know what I mean, sir, please.
Hello, Adamu.
Mr. Festus, sir, can you respond?
Adamu.
Ma?
Please, if I could just indulge you a little bit. Tommy, if Tommy can just give us maybe like a mini summary. I know it's not in our office, inspiring story. When they talk about this Nigerian youth, not be, I don't know. It just gets me. I know I'm not a youth, but it just gets me infuriated because I have my kids are youth, and it's not as if they are lazy or anything. Tommy is one person that Nigerian, what, Nigeria hasn't been fair to him. He was working hard and everything, and he lost his sight in such a manner that it just shatters one. But he's someone that's been inspiring, has never given up. There are a lot of people who have given up. Let him just talk about, let's know that Nigerians don't just sit down and they are refusing to work. It's just that Nigeria is sort of like stacked against someone. If it's possible, just maybe 1 minute, please.
Madam Aisha,
Okay,
thank you
Toby, you
so
have
much.
1 minute.
So basically, like I said, I'm a patriot of Nigeria. Even though I'm here, just like Madam Aisha, one of the reasons why I left Nigeria, if I didn't even want to leave Nigeria, basically it was because of my disability. There was this fear of what if what happened to me happened to my children. I was just like an average youth who was hardworking. I was driving Uber. Unfortunately, I was attacked and I was shot in the face with a local gun. And that was how I became visually impaired. And I just want to encourage the average youth listening now. See, if not for my disability, I would still be in Nigeria. And I just want to also add to, not to, with all due respect, my madam is also in Canada. We don't have lazy youths. We just have an environment that is not enabling. It's not even secured. The same place I was attacked till today, there's no security. This is Lagos, not even the usual road, Kaduna, highway, and they kidnapping. This is Lagos. I was attacked in Lagos. So I want to just encourage the average Nigerian youth. You can do it, regardless of wherever you are. Regardless of, see, we are living in a digital world. Even me myself, I am making use of the digital platform. I never knew that blind people can use smartphones. But social media has been a very big advantage for me. I've been able to network through social media. You can network. Look at Mr. Festus now. Immediately I follow you. You don't beg to follow this kind of people. I even follow the host of this place. Because it's something you can learn from. It is not a situation whereby you just come catch cruise, watch Big Brother. These are the kind of people you should follow. No, he didn't need to say, follow me. These are the kind of conversations we need to have. Connect with the right people, network with the right people, join the right conversations. We are talking about politics as well. How do we make the society, how do we make the government accountable for the average Nigerian youth? We have more of the youth as the population of Nigeria. We have more than 60% of us in Nigeria. I consider myself a youth. I'm just 32. I had the privilege of marrying young. I married an amazing woman who married me even after I became blind. But that's because she saw the zeal in me and the willingness to keep going on. So please, let's just like what I can't remember who said it. Let's take advantage of these things. It is very important. Nigerian youths are not lazy. I don't believe we are. The only thing is that an idle man is the devil's workshop. Sometimes when you see the average youth walking around, you can see it's a balanced system. If you can provide those jobs, it will reduce insecurity. It is basic laws. And I believe that it's high time we start holding our politicians accountable regardless of whatever affiliation you are in. Thank you so much, Madam Aisha, for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for that wonderful inspirational submission. There is ability in disability. We'd like to take our last person. Is off. Oh, because we're actually running out of time. We won't be
Okay,
able to
Mr.
give.
Festus is not here.
He's a listener.
Yeah, Mr. First.
If you can look for him, he's there as a listener. Him
Okay,
request
let
for
me
the mic.
see.
I can see him down there.
Okay, let me bring him on.
You probably just search for his name and they might bring it up.
Okay, I'm doing that.
And then Mr. Barrister Festus, please, if you can hear, just request also for the mic. It makes it easier for our co-host to easily see you.
Okay, I think he has some network challenge. I think that this is where we are going to be calling it for the day. It's still Housing TV Africa's X Spaces. You do follow us on all our social media platform at Housing TV Africa. You can check our website at housingtvafrica.com for more information, news on housing in Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Africa, and around the world. And also, we'll be doing this every Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. Housing TV Africa is the first television station in Africa that is solely dedicated to housing. We are on Star Times, and you can equally follow us across our social media handles, Housing TV Africa, for more information. Also, I want to thank our guests, most especially Madam Aisha Yesufu, for finding time to attend our spaces today, despite your busy schedule. We don't take it for granted, and we hope that in subsequent spaces you would oblige our invitation. I would like you to have your closing remark, madam, if you don't mind, before I'll give my concluding remarks.
Okay, thank you so much, Ademu and Housing TV, for Housing TV Africa for inviting us and having this conversation. This is a very much needed conversation that needs to be had. And to everyone that is out here, most especially the youth, what I can say to every one of you is you can. And remember what Henry Ford said. He said, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. So you choose the one that you wanted to be right for you. And I think it's Jim Rohn that said that when you want to set a goal, set a big enough goal so that in achieving that goal, you become somebody worth becoming. There's nothing that is impossible. Just remove the I am. Nelson Mandela also said that it's impossible until it's done. Having a house can be such like an audacious project that sometimes people think it's never achievable. It is. Begin to do something now. Begin to save, invest, buy land, scare up land, and then begin to build. By the time you build, you'll be shocked at the little money that you spend every day. You don't think about it, can go a long way in getting you a property. All you need to do is start. And I always say to people, please don't stay without a project. You must either be building a house or you're saving money towards buying a land. That way you don't spend your money anyhow. And whenever you want to buy something, always ask yourself, is it a need or is it a want? A need is something that is essential, like housing, your rent, if you're in school, your children's school fees and all of that, your own school fees. Those are essentials. But wants are the things that you just use. Another t-shirt, another handbag, another hair, all of those things are wants. So ask yourself and ensure you're focusing more on your needs rather than on your wants. And at the end of the day, the extra money that you have, please invest. And remember, stop working for money. Let your money work for you. When you work for your money first, whether you're doing business, you get profit, or you're doing work, you get salary. Ensure you invest that money. For that money, monies are like slaves. According to the richest man in Babylon, monies are like your slaves, and you need to invest them to be working. It is when they've worked, and they are bringing in income that you can start spending for them. So I will end by saying that practice more of delayed gratification rather than instant gratification. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Aisha. Housing is important for so many reasons. Housing provides a safe place to live, to learn, and to grow. A home can protect children and reduce the risks of mental stress. Housing is a basic human need that affects the physical and mental health of young people, and a home can help people access healthcare and other public services. Housing is key factor in any nation's economic growth and development. It affects employment, savings, investments, and labor productivity. Housing can equally increase the chances of people earning an income. So therefore, on this note, we'll call it a day on Housing TV African Spaces. Do join us again same time on Saturday next week. Thank you guys for joining. Have a wonderful day.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts on Facebook, Housing TV Africa, on Twitter, Housing TV Africa, Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.